Hi and welcome back to our podcast. So today we're in a little bit different setting. We are at NDC here in Oslo, and we have a few interesting topics that we wanted to talk about. So my guest today is Mete. He works for Google Clouds, and welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So I noticed that you were on a program, so you're one of the speakers, right,
Yes.
today. And could you tell a few words about what you were doing and what kind of talk? You had your talk already, right?
Yeah, I just finished it half an hour ago. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So the talk was about introduction to Knative.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't know, Knative is an open source project from Google and a bunch of other companies as well, where you can basically install it on Kubernetes and have a serverless framework on top of Kubernetes.
Right. All right.
So that's what I talked about. Knative has three parts: serving, eventing, and build. So I just basically went through those, showed people demos, explained to them what is it about.
Interesting. But Knative is so there is a managed version for that in Google Cloud as well, right?
Right. Yeah. So the open source version of Knative, it works on everywhere there's Kubernetes.
Yeah.
But on Google Cloud, we have something called Cloud Run,
Yeah.
which is the managed version of Knative serving.
Okay.
So and I should also mention there's two versions of Cloud Run. There's the fully managed version one, Cloud Run, where you don't have to think about a cluster at all.
Yes.
But there's also a version called Cloud Run on GKE.
Right.
It's basically the same experience, but on Google Kubernetes Engine.
So then you kind of have to manage your cluster yourself in a way,
Yeah,
right?
and you need to think about Kubernetes cluster. I mean, it's still somewhat managed in the sense that you have GKE,
Right.
Google Kubernetes Engine that's being managed by Google.
Yeah, but then you have to scale it up and down and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right?
So it's not as managed as the full version of Cloud.
Cool. Right. Okay. So, but how does this work? Maybe we should tell a bit about how you put things together. So, it is you package everything in containers and you deploy it, right? Or how does this work?
So the way it works is that first you write your code, you create a container image and push it somewhere public, like Docker Hub or Google Container Registry.
Mm-hmm.
Then you create what's called a Knative service.
Mm-hmm.
And so you define a YAML file for that, and in the YAML file you define your service name, the namespace of the service where it should be deployed, and then you do the configuration of your service.
Right.
The configuration includes the reference to the image, and it also includes things like the environment variables, stuff like that. And that's it really. Like once you have that YAML file, you just go to your cluster where you have Knative installed, and you just say kubectl apply and just point to your YAML.
Yeah.
And that kind of deploys your Knative service.
Yeah.
But under the covers, it also creates a bunch of things. So first it creates the Knative service, then it creates a configuration object to track the configuration of that service in that point of time.
Mm-hmm.
Then from the service and the configuration, it creates a revision. And then it also points the traffic to that revision.
Right.
So there's all these constructs that have been created behind the scenes, but you don't really need to care about it yourself. You basically just define your service, just deploy it, and Knative takes care of all of that for you. Now, if you do any kind of change in your configuration, let's say you want to update your image, or you want to update the variables you are passing to your service, you can go to the YAML file, change that, redeploy again, and that will create a new revision, and it will update the route to that new revision.
Right. So then you can do versioning of your service, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So by default, like everything goes to the latest version.
Yeah.
But if you want to do traffic splitting or red-green deployments, you can easily set that up in Knative.
That's really cool. But then that also means that you can also you can deploy some of the AppEngine stuff as well, packaged instead. So then you can actually deploy it more as a container. That makes it maybe a little bit easier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when I first played with Knative, I was like, oh my god, like this feels like AppEngine open source.
Yes, AppEngine flexible, I guess, more because then you have actually the whole container thing and everything,
I mean,
right?
Depending on, either way, like if you use AppEngine standard or flexible, they both have the same concepts, right?
Yeah.
They both have this concept of deploying a version of your application, and then once you have deployed a version, you can do the traffic splitting.
Yeah.
So I think that all comes from AppEngine, and the team that worked on it, they liked that idea and people use it, so they kind of reuse those concepts in Knative.
Yeah, that's cool. But then it's also not only like, because when you think of serverless, you would usually think of maybe a cloud function or something. At least many people would first thought would be that, right?
Yeah.
But here it's a bit more than that. It's not just like one tiny little function. It can be a bit thicker application, right?
It's a container. So
Exactly. So then you can put anything there.
anything that you can run in a container can technically work on Knative and Cloud Run as well.
And that also brings another thing into that. It's also the flexibility of the platform, or like the languages and things you can run on that container, right?
Exactly, and that actually brings a good point. For example, in Google Cloud Functions, it's basically a function that you deploy, but you're limited by what languages they support. And as a C# developer, like I am still waiting for the C# support in Cloud Functions.
Right.
But with Knative and Cloud Run, I don't have to worry about that because I run C# Core, .NET Core in a container, and I can run it anywhere I want.
Yeah, actually that brings me to the next point that I was about to ask you, because I know that you do a lot of talks on deploying kind of .NET or Microsoft technology, like languages and stuff, onto Google Cloud, and you are a C#, you work with C#. And could you tell a little bit about that? This was not your talk here this time, but you have quite a few talks about that, right?
Yeah. I mean, in previous versions of NDC, I talked about running .NET on Google Cloud.
Yes.
And in other places as well. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people don't realize, but at Google Cloud, we support C# and .NET.
Yeah.
It's one of these, what we call silver languages at Google Cloud, meaning, it's one of the languages that we want to support as much as possible.
Right.
I mean, in reality, it kind of lags a little bit behind Java and Go and Node.js support, but eventually things are supported on C# as well.
Of course, yes.
And I guess it all depends on what you want to run. So if you want to run traditional .NET on Windows, you would basically get a Windows VM on Google Cloud and deploy that traditional application just like you would on any VM.
Yeah.
But most people nowadays, they're switching to .NET Core. With .NET Core, it basically opens up a lot of different opportunities. You can deploy on, AppEngine Flex as a container, or you can deploy on Kubernetes as a pod, or now with Knative and Cloud Run, you can also deploy the container as well.
Yeah, you can pretty much write anything and just put it in a container and just deploy it. That's really cool, because that was also one of the questions that I was thinking, like if we have our listeners, .NET developers working on C#, F#, how about F#?
We don't have any special support for F#.
But I guess that's Cloud Run again. That might work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So whatever, because F# eventually runs on CLI, right? So, so whatever you can run on the .NET ecosystem, you should be able to run it on
Exactly.
well. But we don't have anything special for it.
No, but that's fine. I mean, then you can just do that as well, because it's also one of these popular kind of things that people like to use to play around, to things like that. But that's really interesting. That's a good point. So, and then is there any other things that .NET developers that they might want to be aware of, or they might want to try, or anything else you want to?
Yeah, a couple of things I want to mention. So apart from running your code, you also have libraries for any Google Cloud service, basically.
Right.
So anything, for example, if you want to use Vision API, there's a Vision API library on Wiget. If you want to use BigQuery, which is a big data warehousing solution on Google Cloud, there's a C# libraries for that, and it's actually written and maintained by John Skeet.
Okay.
People might know the Stack Overflow celebrity. So we have libraries for pretty much whatever service we have. Right. We have a library for that on C#. On top of that, we have SQL Server managed version. So there's a product called Cloud SQL, which is managed MySQL, managed Postgres, and now we added support for SQL Server as well.
Yeah, no, that's and also it was announced at Google Cloud Next a few months back. The support for Active Directory and stuff like that as well, right?
There's Manage AD support.
That's right.
I haven't played much with it, so I can the details, but there's support if someone wants it. Yeah. And most recently, we just announced, right here at the NDC actually, that we are going to be supporting Windows containers on GKE.
Nice.
Pretty soon. It's alpha now, with a limited number of customers trying it out, but pretty soon it's going to be public beta and all that.
Nice.
That way, you can have a single cluster where you can have Linux containers and Windows containers, and you can schedule Windows, traditional Windows workloads on the Windows nodes, and other ones on Linux.
But is it this kind of headless Windows containers that are kind of like what used to be IoT containers, like your Windows 10 IoT edition and stuff like that? Or what kind of containers is it? Or is it more kind of full-fledged, full-blown Windows containers?
Yeah, I mean, so
Could be
Windows
both, I
container,
guess.
it could be both.
Yeah.
You have the traditional Windows containers, you have the nano containers.
Right.
So any of those would be base images that you could run on GKE basically, or on Kubernetes, and we just support it on GKE.
Oh, that's really, really cool. So we have libraries, we have everything, so you don't really have to go through like through REST APIs or anything. You can actually do it in a more native level.
Yes. Yeah.
Just look for NuGet packages, and they're available at some, I guess,
if you go to NuGet and you can just
you'll
search
find
google.cloud.whatever, then they'll all the libraries.
That's a very, very good point to where to look for that.
And actually, a good link to remember is cloud.google.com/windows or cloud.google.com/.net, like the word .net.
Like DOTNET, yeah, right.
If you go there, it has all the information that you need.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, that sounds fantastic. If you don't have anything else to add, I think I'll say thank you for agreeing to chat with me today.
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure to have you, and well, we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Bye bye.